Hi girls, long time, very long time no see. I've been in the biggest reading slump that I've been in since I started reading. Honestly, this is everything that I've read since we've talked last, which was like 3 months ago. This is everything I've read in 3 months, which is crazy to me. I don't think I read a single book in May, so that is not good. Anyways, I figured we could catch up and I could talk about everything that I've read since the last time we chatted, and I could kind of show you why I've been in a reading slump. I've been very picky with books recently, but let's get into it. So first we're going to be talking about Funny Story, which is by Emily Henry. One thing about me is I will not be picking up an Emily Henry book until it comes out in paperback. So every time everyone gets excited for an Emily Henry book, I'm waiting the following year. While everyone's reading A Great Big Beautiful Life right now, I read Funny Story. This book is about Daphne and Miles. Daphne is engaged to someone who kind of was like suffocating in the relationship, and Miles was engaged to Daphne's fiance's best friend, but then the best friend and the fiance end up falling in love. So it's like follows that whole character line, but this is mainly surrounding Daphne and Miles. This book I rated 5 stars, and I wrote a review saying a top contender for my top 3 Emily Henry books. I loved this book so much. I just really loved Miles. I loved every character in this book, and I loved being able to watch Daphne, after losing herself so deeply, find herself again. Like, that was one of my favorite parts of the book, and I think that's why I love Emily Henry's books so much, is because you actually like dive so deep in on your characters, and they have so much growth themselves while finding romance, but it's not all about the romance, if that makes any sense. So I figured I'd share a couple of the things that I underlined with you. I've not been annotating as much as I usually do, but I've been still underlining some things. So the lighting probably sucks on this video now, but I literally can't see when I have the flash on. He beelines toward the drunk guy, a calm and polite smile fixed to his face, though something about his eyes has flattened out, changed, like he's peering out from heavily tinted windows. Just something away about the way that Emily describes things. Anyways, I'm saying your ex is the little boy looking over someone else's shoulder, trying to figure out if the kid next to him has a better lunch. Only the lunchbox is shut, so even though he knows what his parents packed for him is pretty good, he'd still trade it just to open up that rusty little Batman lunchbox. Hello? Like, it's a library, Daphne. If you can't be a human here, where can you? Love that. So, moral of the story, Emily Henry, I will read her whether I'm in a book slump, whether I'm in a midlife crisis. Like, nothing can stop me from reading an Emily Henry book, unless it's a hardback. Okay, so next, since I was in a book slump, I tried to go for books that I was like used to, that I knew I would like, that I could go for. So Lauren Asher is always a safe bet for me. It's a zero brain power book, zero brain power characters, and it's not as though she doesn't like write anything deep or anything like that. It's just her stories aren't so heavy that like they're exhausting to read, if that makes any amount of sense. But I already read the first book in this series. It's the Lakefront Billionaires. This is the second book in that series. And this one is following Raphael and Ellie. Raphael is the cousin to the guy, the male main character in the first book. And Ellie is his nanny. But she isn't like a career nanny. She was hired because she worked really well with his son when she worked at a music studio giving his son music lessons. So he specifically hired her because she works well with his son, but he's a grumpy boy. And this follows like a very standard trope, like that very standard trope. But for some reason, I really connected with these characters and I really love this story. It felt so new compared to the other times that I've read this trope. I feel like I've read it 100 times. And this one just felt really new and really fresh. I really liked Raphael, and I think that he actually had a really good reason for being grumpy. I feel like sometimes they don't have a good reason. I understand his mistrust of relationships. I can understand why it's not even necessarily that he's grumpy. It's more so that he's unwilling to put effort into new relationships because he's so terrified to try and trust new people, if that makes any amount of sense. So I rated this one 3 stars just because, like I said, it's not like it was an amazing, crazy book. Okay, that was thunder. A little scary. It's not like it was an insane book, something that I've never read before, but it was a really fresh take to me on the nanny trope. The reason I rated it 3 stars was because I have found that in romance books, specifically romance books that are past 300 pages, I glaze over this entire last part. I find it so boring. I find it so unnecessary, and I just hate it. So I rated it 3 stars because if I can't make it through the whole book while being interested, I don't want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Anyways, I loved this, just wasn't my favorite thing I've ever read. Next, I have some bad news. I really tried to read Powerless by Lauren Roberts. And when I say really tried, it's not often that I force myself to read a book if I'm not finding myself interested, but I did not like this book. Like, I did not find it interesting. I did not find it entertaining. I felt like I was reading a book where somebody watched the Hunger Games and they wanted to do their own take on it, if that makes sense, and they tried to make it more complicated, but like logically it doesn't make sense. So I'm sure all of you have heard about this book before. This is about Peyton and Kai. Peyton is an ordinary. She does not have magical powers, and they tried to banish the ordinaries. So I just don't think that it is possible for Peyton to not have magic and be able to go in front of the entire like kingdom or whatever and make it. You know what I mean? Like, she gets selected for this trial, and it's the same as the Hunger Games where like all of the rich people watch them do these trials. And I don't find that believable, on top of the fact that Kai is the enforcer, which means he can feel everybody else's powers. And she says that he's just not able to feel her powers because they're psychic. I find this story so unbelievable and frustrating. I think it's so annoying. And sometimes enemies to lovers work, and sometimes it builds up tension, but sometimes it's just really annoying. It's like, okay guys, I've heard enough. So I rated this book 2 stars and I DNF'd it, and I will not be reading the rest of the series. I was very disappointed because some of my favorite people that I get book recommendations from loved this book, but I think that I have outlived my time for young adult fantasy books. I think that I've outgrown them, and I just don't think that I find them enjoyable anymore. Okay, so next was another book that was perfect for my book slump, because I keep saying for my book slump because in between all of these books there are big gaps where I just didn't pick the book back up for weeks, or I just wasn't reading a lot during that time. So that's why I keep saying trying to cure my book slump, because I was in one for such a long time. Okay, so next was another tried and true. This is Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. If you guys have watched any of my videos before, you know that I'm obsessed with the Rebel Blue Ranch series by Lila Sage. I loved this one so much more than the Reckless Powerless series by Elsie Silver. Not for any reason other than I just love these characters so much. I love this family so much. I don't remember which one I read first because that could have to do with why I love one more than the other, but those ones are compared very often. And this is my favorite like small town romance series. So this one is about Cam and Dusty, and they have a lot of history. You hear about them throughout all the books because Cam is the third book's male main character's baby mama. So they had like a one night stand and she got pregnant and had his baby. So they weren't like a couple or anything, but Dusty is like a friend of the ranch, but like he's always traveling. So you didn't necessarily see him that much. You just heard about him a good bit. So they were together in high school, and then something happened and it didn't work out. And where the book starts, she is literally running away from her wedding, and Dusty is moved back to town for whatever reason. He just wants to settle down now. And you're following them kind of, they're not trying to get back together in the beginning. That is not the point in the beginning, but they're trying to navigate being friends, even though they have all of these feelings that are completely unresolved and they never got over each other, and they're kind of navigating that. I loved this book so much. I loved these characters. I think that Cam specifically was very damaged in the beginning, but she never really like healed. Like, she just kind of went into like this solitary mode because she has a daughter, right? So it's almost like she started just trying to keep the peace, and in doing so she never let herself move on and heal and grow. So you're getting to see her do that in this book, and then you're getting to see Dusty come to terms with like why he wanted to travel so much and why he doesn't want to anymore, and you're getting to see him truly just like be at ease with himself, because he's had feelings for Cam this whole entire book, and his this whole entire book, but also like just his whole entire life. But he's almost like at peace with, if she doesn't want that, he's not like going to pester her. I don't know. I feel like I'm explaining it poorly, but I highlighted a few things in here. So first off, the dedication was so good. It says, "This one is for me, for the girl who had a dream, and for the woman who made it come true." I loved that. So a couple things. Cam was an open wound and time was salt. So that's kind of like, I feel like that was such a beautiful way to say like they never got over each other. It was shouting at me to go, to do something, to run to the church or to run away. I didn't know which, so I didn't do either. This is truly just like how Dusty and Cam are like in the beginning of this book. They are almost without each other. They are like, what is that word? Sedentary? That sounds wrong, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. A mop of blonde hair that my mother would say was too long, but I liked it, I think. That gives you a good insight into like Cam and like her family problems and how they've affected her. And like I am someone who, when I got to my youth, I realized kind of things that I didn't much like about my upbringing. And I started wanting to do everything completely the opposite way, because this book is a past timeline as well as a current timeline. So that's like going to the past when she first met Dusty, and she's saying like, my mom wouldn't like that, but I like it. And I feel like that really sets the book up well for you to understand like what went wrong in their relationship and how it either still goes wrong or something they need to overcome in their current relationship. It's not like this book is as deep as I'm making it sound. I just really loved this one, and I love that you got such good glimpses of their character before you got to their book, that like it made everything come from full circle in this last book. Oh, I rated that book 5 stars, and my review says Lila just knows how to write a cowboy romance, because she does. Prepare to be sick of me. Okay, prepare to be sick of me. All right, this book, this is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. Hello, why is everyone not talking about this? Why is this not on every single book talk video I'm seeing? This is one of my favorite books that I think that I've ever read in my entire life. I picked this book up because I thought that the cover was absolutely stunning. I thought that the back, like the synopsis of this book, sounded wonderful. So I am going to take the time to read the entire thing to you, because listen, it's so interesting. I dream sometimes about a house I've never seen. Opal is a lot of things: orphan, high school dropout, full-time cynic, and part-time cashier. But above all, she's determined to find a better life for her younger brother Jasper. One that gets them out of Eden, Kentucky, a town remarkable for only 2 things: bad luck and E. Starling, the reclusive 19th century author of the Underland, who disappeared more than 100 years ago. All she left behind were dark rumors and her home. Everyone agrees that it's best to ignore the uncanny mansion and its misanthropic heir, Arthur. Almost everyone, anyway. I should be scared, but in the dream, I don't hesitate. Opal has been obsessed with the Underland since she was a child. When she gets the chance to step inside Starling House and make some extra cash for her brother's escape fund, she can't resist. But sinister forces are digging deeper into the buried secrets of Starling House, and Arthur's own nightmares have become far too real. As Eden itself seems to be drowning in its own ghosts, Opal realized that she might have finally found a reason to stick around. In my dream, I'm home. And now she'll have to fight. Welcome to Starling House. Enter if you dare. Hello? Like, does that not sound so interesting? So I don't know how I would describe this book outside of like, it's as if you're reading it's as if you're putting yourself in a situation where your childhood book that you love so much became real life, and you had a chance to like explore it and figure it out. And like, it's like when you're a kid and you don't know the difference between dreams and reality, and this is your adult self finding the reality of your dreamland of like books and stuff. And like, also it's exploring how your circumstances are not always your fault, and you will be good karma will come back to you almost. That, like, I feel like I'm explaining these books so poorly, but guys, I'm telling you, you have to read this book. This book is so good and so interesting. Every single chapter, page, all of it is so interesting. I loved it so much. I need you to read it, okay? I need you to understand why I love this book so much. So I rated this book a 5 stars, and I said genuinely wasn't expecting to love this book as much as I did. It's creepy and gothic in the best way, and I'm honestly obsessed. And I could not have said it any better myself, because I did say it myself, you know? So read it. It's like kind of spooky, but not really. It's kind of like thrillery, but not really. And it's also just really good. Then the next book we're going to talk about is Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. If you didn't know, she wrote Phantasma. I think that came out last year. I don't know if it was around the same time or more closer to fall, but I picked that book up because one of my favorite booktubers, Sarah Caroli, posted a video where she got it in her book of the month and she read it and she was like super obsessed with it unexpectedly. So I obviously immediately went and picked it up and it was so good. But guys, this one is even better. Would not ever expect that, but this one is even better, like by a long shot. I love Genevieve Grimm so much. I loved especially the game because, okay, Phantasma, if you didn't know, is about Ophelia and her love interest in that book. And it's following her through Phantasma, which is a game that the devils have created, because in this series there's like different levels of demons and devils and whatever, and devils are the top, and then you have demons and whatever. It goes through all of that magic system. And the devils, like, to entertain themselves, since they're immortal, they'll have like games, but for mortals it's like life or death games, so you're literally gonna, you know what I mean? And Phantasma was a really interesting game, but this game has so much backstory and it has so much to do with like a found family for Genevieve specifically, because as you find out in the first book, she really struggles with finding her self-identity within her own family. And so she goes out to search for that, and she really does find it in another family, and it makes you so happy for her. It's so nice to get to know Genevieve because you get enough to want to know her more in the first book, but you don't know her more until you read this one. So I really did love this one even more than the first one. And I think that if you liked Phantasma, you're going to be very happy with how this one came out. And I kind of hope that there's like 100,000 more of these books, because they're just so, like, they keep you on the edge of your seat. It's like a game, so you're like never knowing what's going to happen. And there's so many, like, not necessarily plot twists, but like nail-biting moments. So anyways, loved this book. I would say, I want to say more than the first one, but I also don't want to say more than the first one, so we're going to call them equal. I don't want to pick a sister, you know what I mean? Anyways, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't leave any kind of review on it because honestly, she just speaks for herself. What I'm currently reading, I think that I will be DNFing. I'm currently reading Good Girl Complex by, what is that girl's name? Elle Kennedy, and I hate it. Okay, the premise of this book is that there are locals and there are clones. So the locals are like the poor people, and the clones, it's very giving very Outer Banks, like the Pogues and the Kooks. But in this situation, the Pogues would be the locals and the Kooks would be the clones. And one of the clones pisses off one of the locals. To be very, pisses him off for good reason, like he was being a shitty person. But still, okay, their plan is to start dating the clone's girlfriend. Okay, the local will start dating the clone's girlfriend. So he starts hanging out with this girl just so he can start dating her to get one over on the clone, which is so stupid to me. But on top of that, like, it's so annoying because Elle Kennedy keeps going into the girlfriend's point of view, and her name is Mackenzie. So it keeps going into Mackenzie's point of view, and she just keeps saying how loyal her boyfriend is and how great he is. But when you first meet him, he's literally trying to grab the server's ass, and that's why Cooper, the local, gets upset at him. So it's like it's so annoying. It's so annoying. I'm so annoyed by this book. Like, I don't know. I can't keep reading it. I can't keep reading it. So I don't know what I'm going to read next, but that's my update for now. I hate the book that I'm reading. So now that I'm speaking about it out loud, I feel like I should just DNF it. But I feel like I keep DNFing books. Like, I'm being so picky. But it's really stupid. Like, I hate it. Like, she's sitting over here saying, like, I would never cheat on my boyfriend, but she's, like, having all of these thoughts about Cooper, but not... First of all, you shouldn't be attracted to another person, but second of all, if you are attracted to another person, you definitely should either break up with your boyfriend or don't hang out with the person that you're attracted to. Like, what? Huh? Why are you walking around in just a t-shirt? It just makes me so angry. It irks my nerves. So I think that I'm going to DNF that one. I wanted to give Elle Kennedy a try, but I don't think that she is I should try more books before I say this, but even the synopsis of her other books are not interesting to me by any means. So I'm thinking that maybe I'm going to DNF this book and just not get into. I just don't think that she's my vibe of author, if that makes any sense. So I don't know what book we're going to get into next. I really want to try a Frederick Bachman book. I have Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. And then I also have Every Summer After and This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. And I know that she is a big deal for summer reads. A lot of my favorite booktubers love her. But I also have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell, which if you can tell by my last 2 books, I feel like that would be a great read to jump into after what I've been currently reading. Or I have King of Wrath by Anna Huang, who is one of my more like a romance author that I know for sure that I like. So I don't know what I'm going to go into after this. I do think I'm going to DNF the Good Girl Complex because I'm just not into it. I'm just not feeling it. I don't really like it. And I don't think I'm gonna like it, you know? It feels like YA, but written for adults. Because young adults cannot be reading that. Anyways, girls, that is my update on not necessarily where I've been, but what I've been reading since I've been gone. So I'm sure we'll catch up very soon. If you have any recommendations for me based off of what I have been reading, let me know down below. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you very soon. Goodbye!